You know, our joints are absolutely incredible pieces of natural engineering. Just think about it. Your knees, your hips, your shoulders, they can go through millions of movements for decades, and all with almost zero friction. Honestly, it's a system that any mechanical engineer would just dream of creating. So let's dive in and figure out how our bodies pull off this amazing feat.
And that really brings us to the big question for today. How in the world do our joints do this? How can they give us the smooth, nearly frictionless motion for pretty much our entire lives? Well, the answer is hiding inside this tiny, microscopic world within the joint itself.
Okay, so here's our game plan to get to the bottom of this. First, we're going to look at the joint's inner lining. Then, we'll meet the two superstar cells that live there. After that, we'll take a close look at the amazing fluid they cook up, understand their powerful partnership, and finally, we'll see what happens when this whole perfect system goes haywire.
First things first, let's talk about the architecture. The real secret to the joint's self-lubricating, perfectly sealed environment all starts with its inner lining. It's this specialized tissue called the synovial membrane, or you'll often hear it called the synovium.
The easiest way to think about the synovial membrane is like a really sophisticated inner tube for the joint. It's this special tissue that lines the inside of the joint capsule, and its main gig is to create a sealed pouch that holds a very special lubricant, the synovial fluid. This barrier is what keeps the joint's internal world perfectly balanced and controlled.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. This membrane isn't just one single layer, it has two parts. You've got the intima, which is this super thin inner layer, literally just a few cells thick, and it's right there touching the joint fluid. Then underneath that you have the subintima. This is the support layer and it is packed with blood vessels. So you can think of it this way. The subintima brings in all the raw materials from the blood, and the intima acts like the factory floor, turning those materials into everything the joint needs.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that factory floor, the intima. Because this is not just some passive barrier, not at all. It's a bustling hub of activity, and it's home to two very different, very specialized types of cells.
And this table just perfectly shows the division of labor going on. On one side, you've got the type A synovial cells. These guys are basically the joint's cleanup crew. They're related to macrophages, and their whole job is phagocytosis, gobbling up any little bits of debris from wear and tear. Then on the other side, you have the type B cells, which are also called fibroblast-like synoviocytes, or FLS. These are the factory workers. Their cells are packed with endoplasmic reticulum, the protein-making machinery, and their job is to produce and secrete the key ingredients for the joint fluid, like hyaluronic acid and lubricin.
So those type B cells, our factory workers, are busy making the star of the show, the synovial fluid. And this stuff isn't just some oily water. Oh no, it's an incredibly complex and vital fluid that does way more than just lubricate.
So the fluid actually starts out as a filtrate of blood plasma that seeps out from those vessels we saw in the subintima. But then, the type B cells work their magic and enrich this basic fluid with those big, game-changing molecules we just talked about. This souped-up fluid not only lubricates, but it also acts as a shock absorber, and, this is absolutely critical, it delivers all the nutrients to the articular cartilage, which doesn't have its own blood supply to get them.
In a healthy joint, this fluid is thick, it's viscous, almost like the consistency of raw egg whites. But when inflammation from something like arthritis crashes the party, everything changes, dramatically. The inflammation starts to break down those key molecules, and that completely messes with the fluid's physical properties. And you can literally see that change right here. This is something called the drop test. On the left, that's healthy synovial fluid. See how it's so viscous it can form a long string? That stringiness comes from long, healthy chains of hyaluronic acid. But now look at the right. That's fluid from an inflamed joint. The hyaluronic acid has been all chopped up and the fluid becomes thin and watery. It's lost its stringiness and with it a huge chunk of its ability to lubricate and absorb shock. So we know hyaluronic acid gives the fluid that egg white-like thickness. But what about that other key molecule the type B cells make, lubricant? For a long time, scientists were trying to figure out exactly how these two main ingredients work together. And it turns out they don't just float around randomly, they form this powerful synergistic partnership. The leading idea is that these two molecules work together in a really elegant way. Lubricant seems to act like a molecular anchor. It grabs onto the surface of the cartilage, and then it traps and holds onto the hyaluronic acid, concentrating it right at the surface, exactly where you need that lubrication the most.
And check this out, this is basically the visual proof of that hypothesis. Using some clever fluorescent tagging, researchers could actually see this happening. In the top image, the cartilage is red. With lubricin there, you can see the hyaluronic acid in green, forming this thick, dense, gel-like layer right on the surface. But look at the bottom image. When they take the lubricant away, the green hyaluronic acid just scatters into the fluid. That anchored gel layer is the key. It creates a super lubricated surface that drives friction down to almost nothing. It's just a beautiful, elegant partnership.
This whole system, as you can see, is this incredibly delicate balance. But what happens when the very cells responsible for maintaining it turn against the body? Well, in diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, that's exactly what happens to our little factory workers, the fibroblast-like synoviocytes. I mean, just look at this stark contrast. It's like night and day. On the left, you have a healthy FLS, just peacefully doing its job, making lubricants and keeping the joint happy. But on the right, in rheumatoid arthritis, that same cell transforms into a monster. It becomes aggressive, it stops being a protector and starts invading and literally digesting the cartilage. It sends out chemical signals that call in more immune cells, creating this horrible, vicious cycle of inflammation and joint destruction. The very cell designed to maintain the joint becomes a primary engine of its destruction.
So we've gone on quite a journey, right? From the structure of the synovium to its amazing cells, the incredible partnership of its lubricant molecules, and then we saw how it can all go so wrong. This brings us to a final, pretty hopeful thought. As our ability to map all these cellular and molecular interactions gets better and better, maybe the future of treating diseases like arthritis isn't just about blocking inflammation. Maybe it's about finding ways to restore this delicate balance, and maybe, just maybe, convincing those good cells that have gone bad to be good again.